How about inside on the defensive side of the ball? I mean, Mason Graham in a lot of the mocks goes before 11, but a lot of people really like him. And Kenneth Grant is his line mate. That's an incredible tandem. Williams, the big Ohio State Buckeye, is a monster. Deion Walker is just huge. And then there's a bunch of other guys. Nazir Stackhouse, Jordan Phillips has the wrestling background. And there's more behind that. I kind of like the Nebraska combo, Robinson and Hutmacher. Is there an interior defensive tackle that you're just like, wow, if that guy's there at 11, the Niners have to pounce?
Not this year at 11. Mason Graham would be the exception. I think we can rule that out of him being there. He's just too talented. There's a drop-off for me from Graham to guys like I like Derek Herman from Oregon. I like Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. You mentioned Kenneth Grant in Michigan. If you wanted more of just like a nose tackle, like somebody who's going to control the run game, Alfred Collins from Texas as a second, maybe early third-round pick, fits the mold. T.J. Sanders from South Carolina is a game wrecker as well. I think something that would be interesting is if we saw – there's also some players that are going to be listed as edge rushers that have the size to kick inside. Shamar Stewart is going to be built pretty similarly to DeForest Buckner with good athleticism. His line mate, Nick Scorton, is 6'4", 285. So I think you can even look at guys like that and say, like, okay, could you potentially play inside and outside? Could we move you around to find the right matchup? Somebody round 2, Jordan Birch from Oregon, similar, DeForest Buckner, 6'6", 290 type build. So it is a really, really good defensive line class. Just some of these guys, you're going to have to look at body type because they might end up being classified as an outside player because that's where they lined up in college.
3 years ago, this team had Azeez Al-Shaair, Dre Greenlaw, and Fred Warner, and they were awesome against the run. This year, they really only had one of those guys, and they weren't nearly as good against the run, and I think it's cause and effect. What inside linebacker do you love? Is Jalon Walker from Georgia, is he an inside stack backer? He looks like one, but they play him off the edge, almost like it kind of reminds me of Devin White, the way they kind of utilize him. Who's the best inside backer in this draft, and what's Walker? What's Jalon Walker?
I think Walker's an edge just because I think that's where the value is. It's like this argument with Micah Parsons when he was coming out. It's like, well, where do you play him? It's like, well, what's most valuable? Getting to the quarterback. So I think that's where you play Walker. My top linebacker is Carson Schwarzenegger from UCLA. I think he's a stud, former walk-on, super productive, impacts the game, all 3 downs, really good in coverage. He's a little undersized. He's 225 is what he was listed at. He'll be at the Senior Bowl. We'll get a look at him. Jahad Campbell from Alabama is also really interesting, probably a round 1 player. Another guy, he played on the edge some. He had 5 sacks last year, but he's built in that mold, 6'4", just is able to completely erase passing lanes because of his length and because of his ability to just be an athlete in zone drops. So those are the 2 that I like the most. As far as like interior guys, gosh, I think there's a drop-off this year. Chris Paul from Ole Miss would be in the mix as like a round 3 guy. Denny Stutzman from Oklahoma would be in the mix as a round 3 guy. Kobe King from Penn State would be there, but it's not a super strong early linebacker draft. Now, having Fred Warner changes things because you could say like, okay, well, what if we took Jay Higgins from Iowa in the 5th round? Could he hang and be a little bit of a thumper next to Fred Warner? Yeah, absolutely. He could be, but he might be a 2-down player, which maybe that's okay. Maybe you're good with that.
How about the edge? Abdul Carter. A lot of Niner fans are like, get Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter could go first. He could go in the top 5. I don't think. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to be there at 11. He reminds me of Micah Parsons. I can see why people love Abdul Carter, but I mean, there's James Pierce from Tennessee. Michael Williams is just a very blue chip body type out of Georgia. Both of the Buckeyes edge guys are pretty good. Mike Green from Marshall is a sack master. Uma Mamalian from Ole Miss is crazy athletic. Is there an edge piece outside of Carter that you're like, wow, man, that's the guy?
Well, I like Jalon Walker. If you're going to put him on the edge, I would put him up there. After that, it's it's a little bit of a mixed bag because there are guys with great production like Mike Green, but then like you have question marks, about whether it be body type or background. There's so much that goes into this that like we're just starting to scratch the surface of it. James Pierce. If you just wanted a pure speed rusher, James Pierce is your guy. But do you want your edge rusher to ever stop the run? Like that might not be what he does, right? Jack Sawyer from Ohio State is just a hell of a football player, but he's never going to blow you away like athletically. I've watched him work out at the Ohio State Pro Day. He's a monster, but he's not that quick twitch guy like a James Pierce. He's strong. He's 4-3 defensive end. So it's a great edge class. This is the year to grab one. I think I have 15 edges ranked in the top 100 last time I counted. So, you're not going to be able to get Carter at 11. You're probably not going to get Jalen Walker at 11. But there are guys in rounds 2 and 3 that could be really good players still.
The Niners badly need a free safety to go with Malik Mustafa. I mean, it's almost like Mustafa, Hufanga, and Jair Brown are all really box safeties, and they could use that free safety who can cover the deep middle in a cover 3, or just cover the deep middle and man. Is Malachi Starks that player? Can he cover the deep middle, and will Starks be there at 11? Would you use the 11th pick on a safety like Starks if he was there?
He'll probably be there at 11. He's interesting because some of his best usage was when he was in the slot, and some of his struggles were when he had to play safety. And I think there were even times this year. Go back and watch the first Texas game. Some of his struggles, it's because he's being asked to play that deep safety spot. So that's where with him, I need to study a little bit more and try to go back to the 2024 tape basically, or 2023 tape basically, and be like, okay, where did you have the most success at versus some of the struggles, because I tend to think he's better in the slot. If I needed a pure free safety in this class, I'd take Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. And he's probably a late second-round pick, but he is a ball hawk. He patrols really well deep back. Andrew Makuba from Texas would be second on my list. If I just wanted true free safeties, they would be the guys I would go after.
Two local guys I got to ask you about. Nick Nash, the receiver from San Jose State, and Noel Williams. What a year Noel Williams had for Cal and Wilcox. I mean, what a productive interceptor. I don't know exactly how many he wound up with, but he had like 6 in the first month or so. What do you think of Nash? What do you think of Noel Williams?
Yeah, no, I'm waiting with Noel Williams. I don't know if he's going to be at the Shrine Game or the Senior Bowl. He's committed to both. I'm trying to find out where I'm going to get to watch him play at. You're right. I mean, he was all over the ball this year. He ended up with 7 interceptions and 10 pass breakups. So he was all over it and did a really good job of limiting targets, especially as the season wore on. I have him as probably a round 4 type player right now. I want to see how he runs. The word from scouts on him is he does not run well, and so with corner that can be a game changer. If you, especially with so many teams wanting man cover guys, if you come out and run a mid 4.5, that's going to tank your stock pretty big. And then Nick Nash, I mean, awesome production. I have him as probably a mid day 3 type player, but again, I'll see him next week at the Shrine Game. And I think that's like a huge opportunity for these, not that San Jose State's a small school, but these smaller school guys, non-power force guys, like to really stand out because, he's just a super strong, consistent possession receiver. But like, that's what I said about Puka Nacua. That's what we said about Cooper Kupp. Like these dudes who are just great pass catchers who maybe aren't going to run exceptionally well, but have really good body control, really strong at the point of attack. Like that's who he is. So if you want a big slot, which is kind of like Juan Jennings, right? But Juan is, a monster when it comes to the run game and some of the toughness that he brings to the table. But like, that's what Nash will be at the next level.